Hey, what is up, guys? Make a little update video on how the Mustang project is progressing. Now, I took this car apart a couple months ago and been getting to it little bit by little bit to repipe my turbo because I wanted to regain the clearances underneath the car and all the clearances here in front of the engine. If you look at the previous videos, you see that this turbocharger was right here. I had to modify this hose to kind of go around, and everything had to be modified to go around that turbo. My 3-inch downpipe was right here. I had to kind of move my AC lines and bend them around, a bunch of goofy stuff. Went right in front of the AC down there. And of course I just ran an oval 3-inch pipe underneath my cross member, which smacked the speed bumps and everything like that. So I don't want that no more. So now I relocated the turbo, pretty much doing what I was told cannot be done without a K-member swap on this to the tubular K-member, such as an A1, which then requires you to put the lower control arms, A-arms on with it. So this is a low buck project car, you know, a $3,000 GT that I bought with 160,000 miles, go about 180,000 miles on it now. Original engine, I don't even think the valve cover's ever been off, and I've had it turbocharged for a year, like the way I just previously described. So now I've basically made a little more Swiss cheese out of the inner fender there, and I don't care because, you know, it's just a cheap car. If I ever wreck it, I'm just going to throw it away. So here's what I've done basically. First of all, the primary pipes coming from each manifold, that one comes from the driver's side, and then down there's the passenger side. They were a little larger than this. I think I went too large for the you know, power that I was expecting to get. I didn't need to have anything. I had like 2.5-inch pipe going across there. It was just ridiculous trying to get everything around there. And I was using what do you call it? 3-bolt header flange gaskets. This kind of stuff right here. And they kept blowing out the gaskets, including aluminum ones. See that? That was on my passenger side. Boom! Of course, that was when I still had just the 30-pound injectors, and it was probably a little lean on the high load, so it probably ran a little hot there. So now, of course, I put in 42 pounders. Should be okay. So anyway, these gaskets, these flanges. It was an idea at first. I'm thinking these are a dime a dozen, you know, auto parts store. Welded my stuff together with that. Well, it was blowing them out within like a week or two of putting new gaskets in, and it was a bitch to get to those gaskets down in there the way it was before. So now I've changed it to the 2-bolt ball and socket style, which you can see. Okay, my phone just overheated because it's hot out here. Gets up to about 110 in the afternoon. Where was I? Oh, the ball and socket style. They put those in down there. Focus. Those are actually off a Hyundai car off the junkyard. Same thing with that one down there. Ball and socket. Spring loaded. If they start unseating, then I'll just change the bolts without springs. So, but those should work. My brother-in-law had the same issue, and he said when he went to those stock style, you know, unions like that, he stopped blowing. You know, didn't have any gaskets to blow. Those do have like a donut gasket in them, but they are ball and socket style. So they should be much better. The only header flange style I still have is right here on the outlet of the turbo. Of course, a lot less back pressure there, and it's because I already had taken this groove style, whatever you call it, mount and welded on a header flange plate to it as soon as I got the turbo. So if I ever want to change that, I pretty much need to change the exhaust housing again. But so for now, I just put that back the way it was. I got my 3-inch downpipe. It does reduce down to 2.5-inch down there. 2.25 to 2.5. That is a little choked down from when I used to have 3-inch. And I'm going to see what happens. See if I lose a little bit of power. And basically, that pipe goes down in there, right next to the engine. And what I did was I relocated my AC lines. These 2 AC lines used to run right down there, right above the exhaust, you know, against the frame, and come back up to the accumulator and then to the expansion valve back there. So, and to get the pipe down there, I just took the 1 bolt off the motor mount, jacked up the engine, which lifted up the gap I was able to drop that pipe in there. So I made a pipe that reduces, goes down in there, and has a 2-bolt flange, ball and socket in the back. Or actually, it's not a ball and socket, it's just some sort of donut type gasket from a junkyard car. So, again, no K number swap. Underneath the car, see, comes down, steps back up to 3-inch right there, goes through a 2-bolt ball and socket, and back to the splitter already made last time when I turbocharged the car, because it's a single 3-inch splitting off to the duals of the Flowmaster 40. So, I'll see if I lose any power. This car, you know, people always talked crap when I first was going to do this project car and said I need to do a PI head swap and stuff if I wanted to get over 400 horsepower. Of course, those guys are full of crap. So it's a stock 2-valve head. Stock 1996 engine, and I was pushing well over 400 horsepower, definitely over 400 foot-pounds of torque, because I could do 35 to 40 miles an hour in second gear in this thing and punch it. It would, a little slight delay and it would spool up and roast the tires. And these are 245, 45 17s, and look at them. They are smoked. It would light them up from a 35 mile an hour roll. So that's definitely more than 400 foot-pounds to do that. And what would happen was it would run really good, and then it would start losing a little bit of power, and I'd hear those exhaust leaks, and what it was these freaking, you know, I showed you the gasket, it blowing them out right on the primary pipe before the turbo. That's not good. So I'm hoping those ball and socket ones hold up a little better. This came out pretty nice. Run the pipe over. Here's my mount to kind of help support the weight. Everything's pretty much back in stock positions. I like that, except for the AC lines. And I just collected it right there. For the intake, I just had to redo it. This intake used to go right down in here because the turbo was over here, so now I ran it into the fender. Again, it's been cutting the switch tees twice now. You know, and some of these pipes have been re-welded a few times. But the primary pipe coming down, and the intercooled line coming back. I just put the Pro-M mass airflow meter right here because it's the most straight path. This is an air straightener right here. I still don't know if that's helpful or not, but I've always ran it since I've modified the car. I took that out of a junkyard GM, just an air straightener. Goes through there and then it makes a turn. This fitting right here, I think it's that one, is plastic from the Ricer section of AutoZone. So hopefully it holds up. I tried using one of those the first time and started melting it. That was because I didn't have an intercooler and I hit 250 degrees in my intake charge. So now it never goes over 100 really. Well, probably will now that we are over 100 degrees ambient, it will. Oh, and the other thing I need to do yet before I put the front clip back on is I gotta slice and dice up that bumper to get some more air to it, because that's blocking off a pretty good chunk of that big ass, you know, that intercooler there. It's got some holes through there, but it's, yeah, you take the plasma cutter to that thing. And as far as the rest of this car goes, for a 20-year-old car, it is still stock and intact. Came from Idaho, so the seats and the dash are not tore up. So pretty decent condition for 20 years and a whole bunch of miles. That odometer stopped one day when I zeroed that, so it says 163. It's been that way for about 3 years. Hey, just got done ripping open the bumper. I think we got a little more area to that intercooler now. When the plastic bumper goes in place, it does push, it mounts against this, so there's about this much gap across here, so the air will push up and through there. I'll pull through there when the, you know, the fan and everything, but plastic does restrict some of the air, but I've definitely opened it up. You will look at that and say, man, you weakened that bumper. Yeah, you call that a bumper. But on the other hand, actually it's not, because basically this used to have a gap. This whole area was a gap behind there, and that had to withstand a little bit of that, and it's transferring the energy to right here, in which you could see this is made to give way to some degree. It's an impact, zone right there to absorb the impact. So yeah, it would, if this wasn't here, I definitely weaken this bumper. All those, this channel here I kept it as a U shape on the top and bottom. It's still going to give resistance, but it's only going to move until it hits this intercooler. And then that aluminum intercooler is mass between there and the next section of the car anyway. So I took some mass away. I've added some mass. It's still going to be a big ugly mess if I ever get into an accident with this thing. So if I ever wreck this car, more than just a fender bender, I'm going to pretty much junk it anyway. Go buy another Mustang, late 90s Mustang, early 2000s for $2,000-3,000 again, with a running one. So that's why it's a low buck car. Go to the junkyard, get these stock 4.6s for $300, $400 that run, no big deal. Got an exhaust leak, so it's causing me some spool time. So those spring-loaded deals are probably leaking. I need my headlights. Here's the cool thing about it now, though. You can go over these speed bumps. Turbo on this thing has never really been stealth. Here's another speed bump. I'll go over it at 25. Yeah, because I can. Pig rich. Wow. Yeah, my tune. I just got through a mass airflow curve in there just to get it running. Okay, just got done driving the car up the street and back since I charged the AC. Nice to have cold AC in it. Nice to have lots of room again to get to everything. I did have to put the aftermarket orifice housing for the AC right here. Interestingly enough, when I cut the lines out, I remembered something being in that one line. I thought maybe it was just a strainer, but it was the actual orifice. It was way over here in the liquid line. It's not over there at the firewall like most metering devices will be. So, oops. So I started charging it yesterday. It had like 90 psi suction. It's like, yeah, that's not right. I realized the error there. What I forgot. Put that in, just charged it up. It's nice cold AC again. New accumulator, new compressor. The other reason I wanted to move that turbocharger that was down in here was just to get to all that stuff. The AC lines come out pretty nice. I mean, they're up here on top instead of down there, but that's where I needed to run my exhaust. You can see it's nice and sweaty still. I add the foil tape, just a couple little spots, because that reflects heat. Did that up here too. I did notch the hood. This is plastic. The hood is plastic on this car. I could have put the turbo a little lower, but I wanted all this room there. See my O2 sensor? I want to get to things. The bolts, I don't want to just put ratchets with extensions and stuff like that. I don't want to fight bolts like I did before. So turbo's a little high right there, so I did have to notch the hood, and then I put foil here that reflects. It's not burning my hand, so that's good. So shoehorned in there pretty good. The intake air is right there, a big, like it pretty much is stock. Discharge goes down 2-inch into the 3-inch intercooler, back over, comes up through the, I think I showed it in the other clip, comes up into there. So I need to redo this someday. This is just crazy how they have this. So anyway, there it is. I just went into the mass airflow curve and changed a couple cells by hand just to get it to idle where it needs to be, and just off idle, a little rich above there, and that's okay. And I'll fine tune that more later after I get all the bugs worked out. But right now, something happened that I was afraid of, and that is those spring-loaded exhaust couplers right there. Try to focus. There it is. Yeah, it didn't hold, and it's not seated completely, so it's got a little exhaust leak on those. I have on this side I put a solid bolt on the bottom and a spring loaded one on top right there. So, and just the tension of the spring holding it. You know, when you don't have back pressure, that's usually fine. And having the spring loaded ball sockets, it keeps your pipe, if you bump it or whatever, it'll like usually reseat. So I think that's why they like to do that on factory cars. But you don't have to get the alignment perfect. It'll just kind of seat itself. But when you have a turbocharger, you got back pressure between the turbocharger and the exhaust manifold, so blowing off there. And speaking of blowing off, something you might have noticed that's not on here right now is my wastegate. Yeah, I have it sitting on the counter over there because I knew that before even when I put the bigger spring in there, I was hardly ever making more than like 11 psi. So, given the size of the turbo and that, I went a little smaller on the pipe and a little small. I got a little restrictive piece for a downpipe before it goes back up to 3-inch again. I'm thinking, you know what, I might not even overboost. So far, I've only seen it make 10 psi when I drove it yesterday, but of course now I realized that it unseated that ball and socket exhaust coupler. So need to bolt those better and then try again. If it starts to overboost a little, then I'm going to have to put on my wastegate. And people call me crazy for not having a wastegate on there, but you know, it's not a huge turbo for the size of the engine. So overboost, what is it going to make? 15? Ooh, you know. So, yeah. Anyway, it's getting there. For a little buck, it definitely is a lot more clean now. I just love being able to see down in there. So that's where it sits now. So that's where I've been doing with the project. And being that it's July, it's hot as shit out here. It's been about 110 degrees out there. So having the AC all put back together and functional is going to be awesome.